subject of today is configuring custom tools with SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional, and of course the benefits and capabilities you will gain by doing so. So I expect this webinar to take about 45 minutes, after which you should have a very good know-how to do it all yourself. Here's a little bit of agenda, what I have planned for today. So we will start with a short poll. Then I'm trying to explain what it is all about and why it might or might not be relevant for you. Then of course we need the how, which is the live demo. That will take most of the time. Q&A session is at the end, but please post your questions as soon as something comes to your mind. So first of all, when someone, including us, says custom tools, or CT for short, that often refers to custom tools for SOLIDWORKS. And actually it would be a bit more correct to say that custom tools is the environment to which different products like custom tools for SOLIDWORKS connect to. And the same applies for custom tools viewer and custom tools administrator. A few years ago we introduced a new product to that environment called CT Task Add-in for SOLIDWORKS, and that too connects to the custom tools environment using the same profile and database. The point here is that one doesn't require the other, and they are both integrating to PDM Professional from different perspectives. Also, it's worth mentioning that both of these work with the same custom tools license. So depending on how you want to extend PDM Professional with our capabilities, you can choose to use one of these or to use both of them. And the capabilities that we have are of course listed here. So while it's true that custom tools as a system introducing collaboration and advanced searching can be used a bit like PDM, it is also true that PDM Professional does those things far better, in addition to having file version management and access control and workflows. So that is why when using custom tools with PDM Professional, we should just ignore those two capabilities. On the other hand, those are the only capabilities that are not valid when you combine custom tools with PDM Professional. So now let's look at the last two capabilities there. PDM connection is what we are talking about today, and publisher is too big for the scope of this webinar, so let's just drop them out. Since we have these two different domains, SOLIDWORKS and the PDM, for these remaining capabilities, let's also rearrange them accordingly. As shown, some of these capabilities are available only in SOLIDWORKS for the designer, and some can be enjoyed also in PDM now thanks to our task add-in. Again, that bottom line there is 100% available also for PDM users that don't even have SOLIDWORKS. Furthermore, all of those bottom line items can also be configured to be triggered in response to workflow transitions, and that can enable extremely powerful processes within your companies. And let's also address the obvious with these three. So PDM has file cards, and the PDM add-ins for SOLIDWORKS can suggest file names based on PDM serial, and there are also print and convert tasks in PDM that can do printing and converting, which is also something that our batch processing does. Well, like PDM does searching and collaboration better than custom tools, with these three we are simply light years ahead. Of course, we can still integrate seamlessly with the file cards, and we can utilize PDM serials for file naming too. But we are not trying to take those things away. The live demo will clarify these things more. Print and convert tasks are simple, and if that is enough, then it is. Our batch processing is a monster next to them, but you should use whatever supports your processes the best. Knowing our capabilities though, you might find also new, more efficient ways of working. So that was the what and why. Let's now see how we can set things up. So this design or this environment that I'm showing now is my current PDM Professional environment without having custom tools yet. And I'm showing how I'm doing things now with PDM Professional. For instance, I am using a serial. So in my vault, I have defined a serial called SW documents, which is just a simple counter value. Next value being 121. And in my SOLIDWORKS setting, I have defined that SOLIDWORKS PDM add-in here offers that serial for my parts and assemblies as well. But if you take a look at my file naming, I'm actually doing some manual work there as well. So I'm naming my standard components using the serial, but I'm adding a prefix there manually, and then I'm locating the design library folder. Same applies for my project components. I'm saving then under my project, and then there's a project number, and then I'm using the project number as a prefix for my components, and this is the serial. So basically, if we just do a quick design here, or actually I'm not even doing the design, I'm just going to save it. The PDM add-in now offers the next serial from that role. And I would now go either to the standard folder and at std-that serial, or to my project folder. I can take the project number here and put it to that folder. And the next thing that happens after saving the file, the PDM add-in will pop up the file card, and then I'm just filling my properties. Now I need to put the file number here, 00011, and the project 12340, and the description goes to the default configuration. Let's just call it empty because there's no design. Anyway, this is my workflow now with PDM Professional when doing new designs and handling their design data, which is the file cards. Now let's introduce custom tools to this environment and see if we can do things any better. I have already pre-installed custom tools on this environment, but I haven't yet enabled it. When you install custom tools, it will be automatically enabled, but I just did a trick for the demo that it's not yet enabled. So you will have the exact same experience when you start up SolidWorks for the first time after you have installed custom tools, and it will be something like this. So you will first be, actually you probably first will have your license set up, and then you will have this new user dialog thing going on. It creates a new user for you, and then because the profile we now create is empty by default, you will see this first launch tutorial also launching for you. And it seems that sharing my screen is really taking the power from my computer, so sorry about that. Things are not this sluggish normally. But since I of course know what I'm supposed to do, I will exit the tutorials and just do that. So the first thing and the most important thing is to go to the properties. So you open any model that you have and just go to the properties. And since we don't have any, we will have this wizard here. And since we are in PDM Professional, we like to perform the analysis based on the PDM Professional file cards. I will choose the vault that I'm analyzing, and that will be my webinar vault and the file cards from that vault. And now we have the file naming. So we already detected that there is actually a PDM serial there, and it's kind of suggesting that I should do that. I cannot go next unless I do at least some sort of selection here, either going against the recommendation or actually doing something that is recommended. So of course we want to use the same serial for file naming, but there's one more thing, and maybe we don't need to create a new property here because we had that one variable in the file card that should be actually corresponding to our file name. So let's just use that, which was this file number property. So I'm actually now pulling the SW document serial into the file number property, and I'm using the file number property as my file name. So the end result will be exactly the same, but just faster. Here we can see some overview of the properties that were pulled from the file cards. So let's just do a little bit of cleanup here and see what we got, because obviously we cannot detect everything 100%, but we can detect them quite well from the PDM file cards. So we have the file naming for the file number. That's all good. We have revision here. So the revision is actually set in my workflow. So let's take a look at that quickly. So I have this very standard looking workflow, and every time something goes to approved, it will then raise the revision from A to B and so on. Then I also, in every single state transition, I'm also writing the destination state into the variable called state, and that is, is the one you can see here. So these two are actually something that are completely handled by PDM, so I will just put them here. They are basically like a view-only properties for me. I don't want to edit them, so I will have them there as a informative ones only. Then I got to do a little bit of cleaning up here, so maybe I want to put the project first, kind of like trying to do this in a way if what is the most important is going to be on the top. So project number, description, maybe the type of the pod. Also, we might want to change the material of it and so on. Now the next thing to look at here is the using as a filter in print and convert, because you want to do the decision already at this point. So let's start with going one by one this. So file number, we don't want to use as a filter. And the reason why you don't want to use, by the way, all of them as a filter is that it will really make the performance worse of the batch operations. So only have something that makes sense there. Okay, so project number, well, we might want to filter by project number, that makes sense. Description, maybe, but not in my case, so I will just disable that. Type ID, which by the way, we don't have to call it type ID, it doesn't make sense, let's just call it type. And the type in my PDM file card is pulled like this, so these are what I had there in my PDM file card actually. So we can detect that as well. And by the way, it's the attribute that links the property into the file card, so you can freely change the label here. Then and type also we want to filter by that because of course like filtering based on what is purchased or fabricated when you create like DXF files or PDF files, that is obviously something that you might want to do. Also material might be something like that, but not in my case, so I will disable that. Weight, never. Date, never. Author, no, not in my case at least. State, well, in which state the file is in? Well, that makes sense because then we can convert things that are, for instance, approved state or convert things that are not approved. So that is something that we want to filter based on. And the revision, probably not. I don't think it makes sense to filter by revision. So that's it. Let's go finish, and now we have our custom tools properties set up, and we have the same data here that you would have in the file cards. But we are now much closer to the designer itself, and we can go between different components and see their properties, and we can modify the properties easily. And we also have things like direct control of the SOLIDWORKS material here. But of course, this profile doesn't now have any kind of cool bells and whistles that we have in custom tools. But let's add a few of those. Also the file number now, if we take a look at this, we get the SOLIDWORKS document serial, and we can pull the next serial here, and we can use that as a file name for my new files. But let's also automate that now, because now we take over the PDM add-ins file naming, but let's take over it properly and add some rules for our standard components and our project components. So I will start by going to the model properties, and I will create 2 more properties for those file naming rules. So standard components, and it doesn't have to look pretty because I'm going to have it hidden. And another one, let's call it project components. Same thing for this one. Then let's create a model combination, and for this combination, I'll just call it project name. Or project component name. Oh, we don't need to mind about the typos here. And this would be, we can use the special value here, which is the project number, and then we can have a dash and the file number. So this is how I'm naming my files manually now for the project components, and now I'm doing an automation rule for that. Same applies for the standard components. That would be std dash and the file number. Now let's add those combinations into these properties. So for standard components property, let's add data function get combination value standard components. So that's how this property will be populated by that combination we just did. And the same for the project components, get component value project component name. So now we have basically 3 different things that we can use as a file name. We can use either the raw serial, or we can use the standard component serial or the project component. Now we need to make some rules here into the projects. First of all, we can actually simplify it a little bit. We can put into our general project as well that the file number is actually populated automatically for the new components, and then we can do those 2 new rules. So let's call standard components, and yes, this is like projects, but you can also think them as an automation rules. So let's do standard components, and for the standard components in the settings, we will be using the standard components custom property as a file name, and also we can set the save folder automatically to be my design library folder. Like that. And I can also not not allow saving into a different location. So this will be then a strict file naming rule, and when I have a strict file naming rule, you won't even see the save as dialog. We will completely bypass that because there's no need for showing it. We can also fill in some properties here. Project for standard component, we can say that that's standard component, and we can also put that the type for standard components by default is purchased. Also automatically populate the serial there. Then we can do the project components, and the project that I had was called conveyor. So you would do a different project for all of the actual projects that you have, and the project number for this I believe was 123460. So for this project I will use the project components rule, and the save folder for this particular project would be my conveyor project folder here. And also I could just suggest the file name, but you know, this is I have pretty strict rule for this project. Everything should go there, so let's just do it like that. So we are not allowing saving anywhere else when saving for this project. Again, the default values, let's add that we automatically get the serial from PDM. We can also populate the project number here already. 0, and maybe we cannot do anything else here. But let's also finalize the properties, because of course CustomTools is all about managing the data and having a good data. So things like description should of course be required. So let's require description from the designer, so it's always will be there also in the file cards. Same applies for the type ID. We can require that the designer fills in these two, for instance. And as I said before, the state and the revision should be set as read-only. Okay, now I think that I should have everything pretty good. So let's see how it now works. If I now do a new, let's say, standard component, how is my workflow now? Let's design quickly something like that, and just save it. So this is a little bit controversial, this pop-up properties that we have. Some don't like it. You can also go to the properties and fill everything there. But so you can disable this if you don't like it. But I like it. So yeah, we got the file number automatically populated. So this came already from the PDM serial. Then of course we want to select what this is. So let's say that this is a standard component. So now we got the these properties automatically filled. If I try to apply, I cannot, because it requires that I need to fill in the description. So this is a block. Just click OK for that. And because the file naming rule was strict, now it was already saved with the correct file name to the correct location. We should here, I think. The pop-up is a little bit wrong. Also, if you take a look at the file card now, everything here is populated as you would expect. Now we can see that the file number here is only populated to the document properties. Maybe we would like the file number to be for all of the configurations, so we can actually fix that one as well. Let's go to the options, and for the file number property, let's add the configuration option to be document properties and all configurations. Finish on that, OK, and then let's go to the properties and just refresh the value of that property. And now if you take a look at the file card, we have the file number populated for all of the configurations, and everything else is populated as you would expect to be. Same applies of course for the project components. There is no difference in how that would be done. Quickly show if I don't even design anything, and just go to the properties. So this is the other way of saying the file. If you go to the properties here, you can also select that this is a conveyor component. And here I can write in whatever description and select the type because the type is required, and so on, and just click OK, and it will be saved with the correct file name to the correct location in the PDM, like that. Everything populated as you would expect. Okay, so that's how you can do the file naming, or let's say the file management and the property management, and really speed that up in SolidWorks by using CustomTools. And that all works 100% with PDM Professional as was shown. Let's next do like a conversion rule, because of course those are things that CustomTools can do very well. So we want to then put these to the PDM as well. So let's start with a simple conversion rule from drawings into PDF. And let's do a merge rule. Let's merge all of the PDFs into a single file. Let's call this something like drawing catalog. And let's call it merge PDF, drawings to merge PDF. So that was a simple wizard that we had introduced here because there was no rules in my profile. That's why the simple wizard is given there, but we have way more advanced options for these rules in the options. Here we will be also asked if you want to add a file selection filter, and I really recommend you to take a look at the file selection filters, what we can do with those. They are extremely powerful. But I will not add a filter for this one now. Let's do something else, because we have here drawings that have some sheets that we don't want to select for this PDF conversion. So let's first get rid of those sheets. So I can go here, right click, advanced edit, and here at the drawing sheets to convert, I can add, we can see here some Boolean logic operators. So we can start with not DXF star, which means that not starting with DXF. Then we can use and not starting with bend. So this is how we can ignore those sheet names. So now when I reselect it, we can see that we only select sheets that are not DXF sheets or bend sheets. And this is now perfectly valid rule to convert, to create my single PDF that is kind of like my drawing catalog of all of these. I could also add something like, because I have some standard components here, I could add a filter that when the file type is not a design library component, then we don't want to add those in. But for this, I will not do that. Let's just save this as a template, because templates we can use in PDM easily. And we can also add this to quick launch. So we can just call this create merged PDF. And by the way, of course, the template can have multiple rules. So we could do at the same time DXF and step conversion and things like that. And then we can call the template something like create all manufacturing documentation. I will just now cancel this out, and I can just show that we now have here this quick access for the create merge PDF. But it doesn't have to be in the quick access in order to use the template in PDM. I will show that soon. Also, we have the export. Since we have empty profile, we introduced this new export or Excel report wizard. Of course, our export can do other things than Excel, but that is something we decided to add here, that you can do easily Excel reports. So let's add, again, this is a simple wizard. We have only a few options here, but you have more options in the actual profile options. Let's just do that full structure, and here we can choose what columns we want. Let's add drawing number, project number maybe, description we want to see, revision maybe, a type ID, and state would be really nice to see the state in the report. And we can call this this report something like let's say design review report. And that is how fast you can actually do a completely valid Excel-based report for CustomTools now, because we introduced this new wizard. But I'm not going to run the report here now. Let's run that also actually in PDM. So now we at least have one template there, and we have one export profile. And as said, you can have multiple of those. But let's now quit SolidWorks and go to PDM. And let's start by actually installing the add-in. So of course, you need to install the CustomTools task add-in to PDM. So you go to your Vault, new add-in, and then you navigate to your CustomTools install folder. My folder is a little bit different here, but yours would be something like program files, ATR soft CustomTools, and under that there should be CustomTools task add-in folder. Just select all DLLs from that folder. There should be 3 at least in the 2023 version. Open and just click OK. And now it's installed. You'll get this warning here, but you don't actually have to care about this warning when you're installing it for the first time. But if you are upgrading, then you need to do the restart. Then we need to set up the add-in, so we need to tell for this add-in to which database it connects to. So we will go right click and set up. And this one remembers my settings already because I have tried this demo earlier. So database name and profile and just OK. And now the add-in knows to which environment it connects to and which, let's say, like conversion rules and things like that we can actually use. The next thing to do is to configure the task host machine. And for the sake of demo, I'm going to configure my machine here for the task host machine. But you would probably have a dedicated machine for that. So in that dedicated machine, you go here for the SOLIDWORKS PDM task host configuration. And for your vault, you should permit this CustomTools task add-in to execute on that machine. And that's it. Then you can create tasks here. So let's add a new task for that merge PDF. So let's just call it merge PDF, or let's call it create merge PDF. The add-in to use is the CustomTools task add-in. You usually don't want to execute as logged in user because that user might not have all of the privileges to, let's see, read obsolete documents or something like that. Also, using the admin is kind of bad practice, but use some sort of elevated user there anyway. Execution method, so here you can choose what is your task host machine. For me, it would be now my machine because that I just configured. And then we have the CustomTools task here, and we have different task types. And the merge PDF that we created is a batch operation template, so we will choose that one. And then here we can see the database and profile connection. We have nothing here, but we need to query available batch operation templates for this environment, and now we should have the one that we created. And we will choose that one. Then we have two options to run this. We can run it in a workflow transition, or we can run it manually from the context menu. And I will add this now to the context menu first. Then of course we have things like which versions you want to have in the structure when it's handled. Do you want to do the latest versions or as-built versions and so on. And then you can also constrain the SOLIDWORKS version on the host machine if you have multiple versions there. Permissions and things like the things that are here are all normal PDM stuff that you hopefully already know how to do. But you can of course restrict who can even launch this task. So that's now defined. If I go here to my projects folder, to my conveyor project, I can right click custom tools, and now I have here create merge PDF task. I'm not running that now because it will take a little bit of time. Let's add a few more things here. Let's also add now the Excel report, and now I'm going to show a little trick here what you can do with the name. As was shown, you can. This is the name here that comes to the context menu. So create merge PDF, that is based on the task name. So we can do the same thing for Excel report, but we can add reports / and the / will make this reports to be a subgroup there. So reports and design review report. CustomTools task, execute as admin on my computer. CustomTools task, it's an export task now. We can add that to context menu, query available task, and we should find the one that we just created in SolidWorks. And then we can just click OK, and now we have right click, CustomTools, reports, design review report. And we can run the CustomTools export here. And again, this is now a Excel report that we do, but of course our export can do also like export into ERP systems and things like that. So that is all available also here. Let's take a look just quickly what kind of Excel report we are getting here. So this is the standard report that we have, but you can take a look at other webinars and videos how you can easily customize these reports to have your company logos and things like that. Okay, now of course I can show the PDF merge here. So let's actually, I will show how to add that to the state transition. So here I can go to like everything that goes to approval. I can add an action here, add action, execute task, and I can execute the create merge PDF task here. And that is how simple that is how simple it is. So you just add it for all of the things that are, let's say, going to the approved state. then you can automatically trigger that templated operation. And as said, the templated operation doesn't have to be only merge PDF. It can be create PDF separately of all of the documents, or create DXF files from only like sheet metal parts, and at the same time also create step files and things like that. So you can have all of them running with the same task there. Now let's also add a little bit more power here to the PDM. Let's create a task just called batch operations. CustomTools task add-in as admin on my computer, and the task type is now batch operation. So this will open the batch operation dialog, and this you don't want to use in even though it's kind of supported in the workflow. It's something that you want to use in the context menu only. So let's just do that and see what we got with that. Right click, Custom Tools, Batch Operations. And here we now have the full power of Custom Tools Batch Operation Engine, and we can even define here new rules, of course depending on my current users privileges. If I have the edit profile rights, then I can add new rules here as well. So we could do something like, let's say drawings to PDF again. Let's again create a merge PDF, but this time let's create something that only takes approved drawings. And let's call it approved drawings to PDF. And my computer is thinking a while. It takes a little while to. Yep. And now we want to add a rule for that, a file selection rule for that, because we don't want all the drawings to be converted into PDF. We just want those which, in this case, I will use reference model property state is approved. And we can do really wild rules here. We could also do and file type is not design library component. We can do subgroups so that one of these is true and so on. And we can really do very good filtering of what we want to really do. Yeah, let's just do next for that and save and attach. And now we have a rule that only applies for those drawings which model is approved, and we should have you here. Now we can also save that as a template, or we could do at the same time some other conversions. Let's save this as a template. So approved drawings to be actually drawings of approved models to PDF, but yeah, let's not split the hairs right now. We don't need to add it to quick launch. It's enough that it's here in the templates. So then we can actually cancel out this dialog, and we can add that. We could have run it there directly as well, but I will just add it here as a task. We can do batch operations, drawings of approved models PDF. Custom Tools task add-in as an admin on my computer, and batch operation template query. And we can find the one that we just created, and okay. Now we can go here and just right click, Custom Tools, Batch Operations, drawings to approved models of PDF. Drawings of approved models to PDF is of course supposed to say. Let's click that and let it run. We can here then go to the task list to see how the tasks are going forward. And by the way, if you see failed for the batch operation, that only means that the batch operation dialog, I just cancelled it. So it will report it as failed when I didn't do any conversions. But of course I just cancelled it. And this is what would happen on the task host machine. Now of course it happens on my machine because I used my machine as the task host machine. It will very authentically open SolidWorks and only load custom tools there, and then open the batch operations and just run the template as you would do that manually yourself. And this pretty much concludes my demo. Let's give it a few more seconds so we can see the results of that merge PDF in case that is something that you haven't seen before. So here can actually refresh. So we had the design review report of the Excel file that we created. It's here, but we also now got the approved drawings of this model. So this is the merged PDF that we have. So we have all the PDF files in the same, and we have also the TXF files here because I didn't filter out those sheets. We also have some bookmarks that you can easily go to different drawings within the same PDF. Okay, so that concludes my demo.
We are in the life-saving business. We kill your routines before they kill you.